The Sioux people are a confederacy of several tribes that speak three different dialects: the Lakota, Dakota, and Lakota. The Lakota, sometimes called the Tetons, meaning prairie dwellers, known for their hunting and warrior culture, are comprised of 7 tribal bands and are the largest and most western of the 3 groups, occupying lands in both North and South Dakota. The name Sioux was given to this group by the French and is translated as Lesser Snake. The Lakota Sioux are known as warriors and buffalo hunters. The 7 tribes of the Sioux are the Oglala, Sikangu, or Brule, Hunkpapa, Miniconjo, Sihasapa, Itazibacola, and finally the Ohanupa. This band migrated west from Minnesota because of conflicts with the Ojibwa after they started using horses in the 1700s. By the mid-18th century, there are about 20,000 Lakota people. Sioux men acquired status by performing brave deeds in warfare. Sioux women, on the other hand, were skilled at porcupine quill and bead embroidery. They also produced processed bison hides during the 19th century, when the trade value of these buffalo robes, as they were so called, increased dramatically. Community policing was performed by men's military societies, and most significant duties of which was to oversee the buffalo hunt. Women's societies generally focused on fertility, healing, and the overall well-being of the group. Other societies, however, focused on ritual dance and shamanism. Religion was an important part of the Sioux life, as was their culture and their identity. It is proven through the trials and adversity of government resistance. The Lakota tribe have proven through the Battle of Wounded Knee and the Black Hills War that the passion and solidarity of the Lakota Sioux tribe in defending their way of life has played a major role in shaping their tribe even today. The Black Hills War of 1874 was one of the most significant events in shaping the Lakota history. In the 1868 treaty signed in Fort Laramie, the United States recognized the Black Hills as part of the Great Sioux Reservation, set aside for exclusive use by the Sioux people. In 1874, however, General George A. Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills, accompanied by miners who were seeking gold. Once gold was found in the Black Hills, miners were soon moving into the Sioux hunting grounds and demanded protection from the United States Army. In 1876, Custer, leading an army detachment, encountered the encampment of Sioux and Cheyenne at the Little Bighorn River. Not intimidated by the size of Custer's detachment, the Lakota fought back under the leadership of Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, outnumbered and outmanned. And against all odds, the will and non-compliance of the tribe navigated them to victory. But the United States would continue its battle against the Sioux in the Black Hills until the government confiscated the land in 1877. Spotted Trail, Red Cloud, and Lone Horn went to Washington, D.C. to defend their tribe on the political front of this battle. The U.S. wanted to divide up the Lakota land for $25,000 per section and relocate the Lakota to present-day Oklahoma. Spotted Tail refused affiliation with the United States, and therefore did not believe that his land was theirs for the taking. Once again, the Lakota were showing what it really means to defend your culture. These 3 men, in the presence of hundreds of people trying to seize their sacred homeland, were not intimidated. They did not conform to the wants of the oppressive United States government and kept up a fair fight until 1889. After the Dawes Act of 1889, the Black Hills were split up communally with 5 other tribes: Standing Rock, Cheyenne River, Lower Brule, Rosebud Indian, and Pine Ridge, which took away the Lakota's food, natural resources, and most importantly, their sacred homeland. Though the Lakota ended up losing the land most sacred to them, we can see how their perseverance and passion for defending their culture made this war a significant event in their people's history. Another event that shaped the Lakota history was the Battle at Wounded Knee. The Battle of Wounded Knee was an episode that concluded the conquest of the North American Indian, reaching out for some hope of salvation from hard conditions, such as semi-starvation brought on by the Dawes Act of 1889 in the reduction of their reservation. The Teton Sioux responded affirmatively to Wovoka, a Paiute prophet who promised the disappearance of the white man and a return of native lands and buffalo if certain rites and dances were performed. These rites known as the Ghost Dance, caused alarm amongst whites and led to a federal military intervention. The Army subdued the Ghost Dance movement, but Chief Sitting Bull was killed by reservation police while being arrested on December 14th, and a few hundred Sioux left their reservation at Pine Ridge, seeking to hide in the Badlands. Technically classified as hostiles because they had left the reservation, the Indians gathered around Chief Bigfoot and surrendered quietly to pursuing troops of the 7th Cavalry on the night of December 28th. Following an overnight encampment near Wounded Knee Creek, the Indians were surrounded and were nearly disarmed when a scuffle broke out over a young brave's new rifle. A shot was fired from within the group of struggling men, and a trooper fell. From close range, the soldiers, supported by machine guns, fired into the Indians, who were only armed with their clubs and knives that they had hidden in blankets. Fleeing Indians were pursued, and some were killed miles from the camp. Although the number of Indians dead is unknown, due to the fact that some of the bodies were moved, 144 Indians, including 44 women and 16 children, were buried in a mass grave the following spring when the weather permitted the Army to return. About 30 soldiers were killed during these hostilities. On February 27, 1973, some 200 members of the American Indian Movement, AIM, led by Russell Means and Dennis Banks, took the reservation hamlet of Wounded Knee by force. They declared it the independent Oglala Sioux Nation and vowed to stay until the U.S. government met AIM demands for a change in tribal leaders, a review of all Indian treaties, and a U.S. Senate investigation of treatment of Indians in general. The Indians were immediately surrounded by federal marshals, and a siege began, ending on May 8th, when the Indians surrendered their arms and evacuated Wounded Knee in exchange for a promise of negotiations on Indian grievances. 2 Indians were killed, and 1 federal marshal was seriously wounded during the siege, which alternated between negotiation and exchanges of gunfire. And though the Lakota may have eventually lost this battle, we can truly see how the tenacious spirit for protecting their homeland has been passed down through their generations. To this day, ownership of the Black Hills remains the subject of a legal dispute between the U.S. government and the Sioux Nation. On Wednesday, December 19, 2008, in Washington, D.C., the Lakota Sioux Indian representatives declared themselves a sovereign nation, following withdrawal from all previous signed treaties with the United States government. The withdrawal immediately and irrevocably ends all agreements between the Lakota Sioux Nation of Indians and the United States government outlined in the 1851 and 1868 treaties at Fort Laramie, Wyoming. Education, energy, and justice now take top priority in the emerging Lakota. The Lakota reservations are among the most impoverished areas in North America, brought on by a history of broken treaties and apartheid policies. Sadly, the Lakota has the highest death rate in the United States, and Lakota men have the lowest life expectancy of any nationality on Earth, excluding places affected by AIDS, at approximately 44 years of age. The Lakota infant mortality rate is 5 times the United States average, and teen suicide rates 150% more than the national average. Another shocking fact is that 90% of the Lakota people live below the poverty line, and unemployment hovers near 85%. Though their location and time periods may differ, it is clear that the Lakota people are a people willing to do anything to preserve what they believe in.